Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. All right, so guys, we have seen a bit of a dip, not just for XRP, for cryptocurrencies. We have been witnessing this on the charts over the last, it was a few hours ago now. XRP right now trading at $2.48. It did go down as low as $2.37, and that was after we did see a high in the $2.60 range, so $2.62. Right before we did see that dip. As you guys can see, it was also happening on the Bitcoin chart. So clearly there was some news that was shaking the market, albeit not by a lot. Currently, one Bitcoin is going for about $87,000 per coin. So from 24 hours ago, 91,600. We are now back down in the 80s. I think it's okay though, guys, because we are rebounding at least by a little bit. As you guys can see, crypto space still in fear though, so still holding firmly at 30. Bitcoin dominance hasn't really moved too much. It is sitting at 60. Market cap is down by 4%, along with volume also down by 4.7%. So we're back under a $3 trillion market cap, unfortunately. Luckily, though, for us, the past 7 days have looked very positive for most cryptocurrencies, including XRP, up almost 22% in the last 7 days. So despite the fact that we have been seeing some declines as of late, within the last few hours, most cryptocurrencies are still maintaining their gains over the last 7 days. Look at Cardano up over 41% as just as one example there. So now what are we to expect next? Vandal here posting this. Knowing when Bitcoin tops out is key to predicting altcoin season. And, I've always maintained that as well. I'm just going to bring up the Bitcoin chart real quickly because I want to show you guys, just zooming out for the long term. And I don't do this, I don't think enough. I do cover this type of thing more on the Patreon, but I'm just going to show you something real basic here. Bitcoin, the fib, we are only at the 1.618. We have hit that level up there. Bitcoin is now retracing. But guys, in the past, we have seen Bitcoin, in 2017, it went beyond the 4.236. Then in 2021, we basically hit the 4.236. And now the question is, where is Bitcoin going to go next? So back to Vandal's tweet here, okay? Market dynamics are always evolving and nothing is guaranteed, but historically, these indicators have been spot on. So first we need to see Bitcoin go, then every altcoin takes off. He says, these 5 indicators have nailed every Bitcoin top in history. Spot them early and you'll be ahead of the game. Now, I'm not going to get into these in detail. Again, for more information on what I'm doing this particular bull run, you can follow me at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. Let's take a look at some of these though. The MVRV, okay, the Z-score, every time the orange line enters the red zone, Bitcoin is in maximum euphoria, a danger zone near the top. So that is a very important metric, I think, that we need to pay attention to. I think this is probably why Vandal put this one first. MVRV, as you guys can see in past bull runs, when it did spike really high into this red zone here. It did in 2021, albeit not by much. But guys, look at where we are right now in comparison. So nowhere near that red zone. So that is one indicator there. According to this, Bitcoin is still undervalued. So there's also the NUPL, unrealized profit and losses. Okay, this chart shows how much profit and loss Bitcoin holders have at any given time. Every cycle, the NUPL hits the red zone, and that's when it signifies a maximum greed and euphoria phase. So guys, here's where we are right now. This line in the blue is that indicator. And again, you guys can see it spikes into the red zone, the euphoria and greed phase, as soon as Bitcoin price gets higher. So we are not there yet. Things to be paying attention to. There's also the Pi cycle top indicator. This moving average tool has predicted every major Bitcoin bull run top within days. Wow, within days. When the 111-day moving average crosses above the 350-day moving average, X2 Bitcoin is topping out. Every previous all-time high saw the cross happen. So again, just another indicator here to show you guys, and we have not crossed over there yet. You guys can see we did cross in 2021 and in 2017 and even in 2014 over here. Next one is the Puel multiple, measures Bitcoin miner revenue. So this is another metric that doesn't have to do with price so much, but the activity on chain. So when it enters the red zone, miners are making huge profits and they start selling. This increases supply and has historically aligned with Bitcoin tops. And that just makes sense, right? When the price is high, miners are more profitable, so they will start selling. And when we do see that go up, that's when miner activity does go up as well. And you guys can see down here, miner activity fairly low in comparison. And then we've got the global M2 money supply. This measures global liquidity. When M2 rises, Bitcoin follows about 10 weeks later. So it's a leading indicator there. It doesn't predict the exact top, but shows whether the crypto market will rise or fall in the coming months. almost 100% accurate for past cycles. So there we have global M2 10-week lead. In a nutshell, though, we still do need to get up higher before we do see this alt season rally. And again, for more information on what I'm doing, the indicators that I'm looking at, because it's several guys, I'm doing the research there. I'm basically just sharing my trading journey with all my Patreon subscribers, patreon.com/workingmoneychannel, if you're interested in following along. So guys, we did get Donald Trump's executive order, and he called for two separate things. This courtesy of Eleanor Turret, okay? A strategic reserve and a stockpile. So let's get into these two things. How are they different? What can we glean from this latest information here? So the strategic reserve will contain only Bitcoin, the digital asset with the most store of value, using the 200,000 or so tokens already in the government's possession that have been seized over the years through criminal or civil forfeiture. Sachs says Besant and Lutnick have also been given authorization to explore means of acquiring more Bitcoin through avenues that will not cost the taxpayer. So that's another interesting point. The EO also mandates a full audit of all digital assets currently in the government's possession. Interesting. The other is a digital asset stockpile. So guys, this is the differentiation, a digital asset stockpile containing assets other than Bitcoin. So these are the presumed assets in the stockpile: XRP, ADA, Ethereum, and Solana, as announced by the president last weekend, and potentially others. The key difference between the reserve and the stockpile is that the government will not actively look for ways to purchase more of the assets contained in the stockpile. So that means government not actively looking for these types of digital assets: XRP, ADA, Ethereum, and Solana. They have a stockpile of them, and we're going to talk about whether this is good or bad, and look into some more speculation as we go through this. Okay, it will only explore using government funds if they can find budget-neutral ways to do that. So that's interesting. They also want to save money. Obviously, they don't want to use taxpayer money to start buying these things, and so that's what they're saying regarding to the Bitcoin buying. So this is why they're going to be keeping the Bitcoin that they currently hold. Sachs says the purpose of the stockpile is reasonable stewardship of the government's digital assets under the U.S. Treasury. So that was David Sachs' statement. And here's the president signing the executive order officially creating the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve.
Today we're signing, and this is very historic, an executive order establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile. This is a promise that you made throughout the campaign, and today we're keeping that promise. The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin that the federal government already owns, so it won't cost taxpayers a dime. This is like a digital Fort Knox for digital gold. And premature sales of Bitcoin over the past years cost American taxpayers over $17 billion in lost value because we didn't have a long-term strategy.
Right.
Now we do. So.
And this is something you believe in fully?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
And the whole community believes in it.
Very good. And I made the promise, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So there it is, guys. Official. That is history in the making right there. So I wanted to thank Vandell and Eleanor Turret just for posting those. Now, guys, here are some of the details I think we should go over. David Sachs posted that Trump just signed an executive order. There is now a Bitcoin reserve and a stockpile reserve with non-Bitcoin assets, exactly what I predicted. So this is This is the official statement here. David Sachs' Twitter account just commenting on what is happening. It is estimated that the U.S. government owns about 200,000 Bitcoin. So remember that these are from forfeitures. The U.S. will not sell any Bitcoin deposited into the reserve. It will keep it as a store of value. The reserve is like a digital Fort Knox for the cryptocurrency, often called digital gold. Premature sale of Bitcoin have already cost U.S. taxpayers over $17 billion in lost value. Could you imagine if the U.S. government had just sat on it and held it? Now the federal government will have a strategy to maximize the value of its holdings. So what else do we have? So discussing more about providing neutral strategies, budget neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin, so not using taxpayer dollars. In addition, the executive order establishes a U.S. digital asset stockpile, so that should be for the altcoins consisting of digital assets other than Bitcoin, forfeited in criminal or civil proceedings. The government will not acquire additional assets. The purpose of the stockpile is responsible stewardship, as I mentioned. Promises made, promises kept. So he finishes off by saying President Donald Trump promised to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve and a digital asset stockpile. Those promises have been kept. The executive order underscores President Trump's commitment to making the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. So I guess the big elephant in the room now, if they're not going to acquire more of, whether it's Bitcoin or these other digital assets, how is it that we could see an XRP worth, for example, $10,000? Are they going to buy it from us? Is this still on the table now that we have this new information? Under pressure from his donors and conflicted cabinet members, Trump just signed a bogus executive order to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve using the Bitcoin the government already owns. This coming from hater and gold bug Peter Schiff. But the executive order doesn't authorize the buying of any more Bitcoin. Look out below. Peter Schiff quickly amended his statement there. I had not read the full text. No kidding. Apparently, it does authorize acquiring more Bitcoin so long as they can do it at a zero cost. So I guess that means if they seize any more Bitcoin, they can keep that too, but they can't buy any more, as buying by definition requires a payment. So this is now where we stand, guys. Ripple Van Winkle, seeing this as a negative, okay, the key difference between the reserve and the stockpile is that the government will not actively look for ways to purchase more of the assets contained in the stockpile. So I didn't get that from this, but I can see what he means here. The government will not be buying XRP. Not sure why people are trying to change the script here. We could look at this from many different angles, and this is what I'm going to get into. I don't agree completely with this. Also, as per the David Sachs' statement here, it has to be budget neutral. So how do we acquire more without it costing taxpayers money? That, I think, is quintessential to understanding this. Eleanor Turret also did comment on some other things. I guess this is kind of a sidebar to what we're talking about here, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. In addition to a possible announcement either today or tomorrow regarding Donald Trump's proposed strategic reserve, a couple of other announcements are on the radars of some roundtable attendees. So those include the anticipation over what was described to me as a possible banking announcement relating to the rollback of so-called Choke Point 2.0, Biden-era banking regulations restricting crypto assets, and then some kind of tax announcement, but specifics are unclear. So guys, we're still also waiting for a couple of more updates. That should be happening today. But let's get back into, I think, what a lot of you guys are here for, the elephant in the room. John Deaton also did tweet this out. Okay, the government will not acquire additional assets for the stockpile beyond those obtained through forfeiture proceedings. Again, just tweeting out David Sachs. David Sachs' tweet here. John Deaton does go on by saying, it makes you wonder about XRP, ADA, and Solana, and the post, and if anyone made a lot of money off it or what. Were they just posturing? Were they pumping bags just to make a quick buck? Chances are I don't think so. I think that, the coins that solve problems, I think it was very strategic that they picked those particular cryptocurrencies. Well, first of all of them are American, and I think there is a secondary train of thought here that they're probably not revealing to the public, at least not yet. So Stogie Sigs here saying, it would be great if Ripple and XRP, if Ripple had XRP, to donate to the stockpile, which would not incur any costs to the taxpayer. So now we have Ripple entering the discussion. Pretty much what I expected, says the XRP Don. LOL, he's not going to let U.S. taxpayers fund a Ponzi scheme that can implode any day. So referring to Bitcoin there. But let's get back to this comment. Wouldn't it be great if Ripple had XRP to donate to the stockpile, which would not incur any cost to the taxpayer? And remember, it was David Sachs who said this had to be budget neutral. Okay, budget neutral strategies, nothing, no cost to the taxpayer, which means could we see additional XRP or ADA or whatever it is, Solana, being acquired by the U.S. government if we do in fact see savings from the U.S. government and if we do in fact see alternate ways for them to purchase, okay? So Matt Hoogan also commenting, impacts of the strategic Bitcoin reserve dramatically reduces the likelihood the U.S. government will someday ban Bitcoin. So here are just some positive aspects to this as well. Number two, dramatically increases the likelihood that other nations will establish strategic Bitcoin reserves. So that's very positive and very important. Number three, accelerates the speed at which other nations will consider establishing strategic Bitcoin reserves because it creates a short-term window for nations to front-run potential additional buying by the United States, and it makes it much harder for institutions, from national account advisor platforms to quasi-government agencies like the IMF, to position Bitcoin as somehow dangerous or inappropriate to hold. Things that make you go, Now, remember, we were on this tear, discussing the IMF and how they have been negative on Bitcoin, how they pretty much strong-armed El Salvador to stop using it as legal tender. I talked about this in a video I did just this week, which I will link up here in the top right-hand corner if you guys didn't catch that. So I think there are many moving parts here. I don't think it's that cut and dry. I do think overall this is still very positive for the United States. I mean, we are one step closer to crypto adoption. Our XRP is now listed in the strategic stockpile. So guys, that's all beneficial. And the Bitcoin reserve and the stockpile, they're going to be two separate things. So Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin in a reserve, none of the funding of whether it's the Bitcoin reserve or the crypto stockpile, neither of those will be purchased by taxpayer dollars. So that gets me thinking about another possibility, guys. Let's look at XRP here on the chart. And so if they want to accumulate more XRP and not have the taxpayer pay for it, well, they can essentially do what we're doing, okay? Had they started doing this back here, and they had XRP in a stockpile here, and they held XRP here, well, they could hold it, they could sell it, they could wait, they could use the profits from buying up here, acquire some more, wait, sell it, wait, acquire some more with the profits used up here, lather, rinse, repeat. Basically what my strategy is over there, basically mirroring traditional trading strategies. And it doesn't say how much XRP or ADA or Solana they're going to hold. So maybe they'll just sell a portion and hold a portion to technically keep the balance up. I mean, who knows how much they have. If they have 1 billion XRP, let's say, and they sell 500 million to use to buy more XRP in a bear market, they use that money and then they 5x that amount. So 500 million now turns into 25 billion. I think you guys see where I'm going with this. Also remember that statement by the IMF. Okay, Bull Dieppe here commented, after Trump signed the executive order for the US to hold cryptocurrencies, it is likely that the IMF will also hold crypto. So despite the fact that, there has been this negative narrative surrounding Bitcoin in particular, I don't think it means that the IMF is not going to hold digital assets. Brad Garlinghouse was even talking about this back in 2018, before the beer flu, before the Biden administration took over. And now, guys, I think we are back on track.
And not even specific to Ripple or to XRP's community. I think one of the things that will surprise us a year from now is that banks will be custodying digital assets directly. And I think right now we think about that and think, look, there's no way that's going to happen. They're too conservative. And I think what you're seeing is, two things happening. One is banks are seeing that a lot of money is being made by digital asset exchanges globally, and banks are profit motivated. The second, and as we've talked about up here, certainly Ross has made very clear, is regulatory clarity and regulatory frameworks enable banks and financial institutions to lean into these markets. And I think we will surprise ourselves by this time. By the way, I'll also predict that it will be banks in the ASEAN markets where there is this regulatory clarity and there is a lot of progressive forward thinking. They'll be the first to actually allow for crypto assets custody in their accounts. All right, with that, we'll turn it over to questions. And I see a bunch of questions on this screen, which I can't really read from here, but we're supposed to pick some. Can you see those? Oh, there's 2 votes.
Let me try.
Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? Oh, they're over here. That's easier. You want to take one? Go for it. The first one's for you. IMF. Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? I did not put that up there.
Remember, I'm from the legal department. I'm supposed to be very conservative about these things. I don't want to go into great details about
Maybe
the IMF.
I should take what the IMF is going to do. I think we stunned Ross into silence with that one.
For that to happen, okay, under the current legal framework, some country would have to use a crypto asset as its currency.
So very, very interesting. Again, this was back from 2018. A lot has changed since then. And I think, the narrative shift, now that we have major economies, countries leveraging cryptocurrency, not necessarily using crypto as a currency, but maybe stablecoins will fall under that umbrella. So who knows how this is going to shape up. Wanted to thank Bull Dieppe, of course, Matt Hugin, John Deaton, Eleanor Turret, again, Ripple Van Winkle, Peter Schiff, and everybody else here who participated. This one from Dom Kwok here, guys. Lots of you asking how the government will get its XRP, ADA, and Solana for the stockpile if it's not buying it. 2 words, seized assets. So that's the other possibility. Over the years, the government has seized tons of crypto from illicit activity. Now the government isn't telling you it won't be selling any of its crypto. For reference, over the past decade, the government sold about 195,000 Bitcoin, resulting in downward price pressure. The government deliberately deciding not to sell any of its crypto means much less downward price pressure. This, of course, is very bullish. And Ripple Van Winkle here saying, what's the point of holding if you won't sell it? Is trade the same thing as sell? Will they trade in other countries? There are a lot of questions here that still have to be answered. And so, again, this is the question. Digital asset dude saying, yeah, but realistically, how much XRP, Cardano, or Solana has been seized? Not a lot. I'm telling you that. Bad boy here saying, I think a strategic reserve or crypto stock is not important for cryptos intended for mass use. Regardless, the utility will do the job in the long run. I think, too, a lot of people have been suggesting it could be that Ripple will either, through their fine from the SEC, maybe convert that to XRP. Think of that, guys, $125 million worth of XRP going into U.S. coffers for the digital asset reserve. That's another possibility. And then there's the escrow. That still isn't off the table. So long as technically U.S. taxpayers are not paying for these cryptocurrencies, I think everything is still on the table, but that's just my opinion. And for more information on what I'm doing this particular bull run, right now we're still trading in a spec market, guys, but that could soon be changing in the coming months. Follow me, patreon.com/workingmoney-channel, and please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.